Afternoon, VC. Dave here. So a while back, I showed my John Coltrane collection, um, and recently Mazzy has gone on and showed um, this fantastic Miles Davis collection. A lot of stuff that I don't have, especially the early 10-inch records that he's got the Record Store Day versions of. They're, man, I'd love to run across that, but showed a lot of stuff that I really would like to find. The major ones that I'm still missing are Water Babies, and then I think Volume 2 on Blue Note. And but Bill at the Vinyl Verse was like, hey man, why don't you just go on and show yours just for the hell of it. So here I am. And first thing I'm going to show is the Miles Davis autobiography, which I highly recommend. This is a trip. Everything's a motherfucker. Good, bad, in between, doesn't matter. It's a motherfucker. This guy was a piece of work. Love some of the stories in here. I think the best part of it is the fact that he only went to Juilliard as a front to his parents. I mean, his whole reason for going to New York was to get with Charlie Parker and play with Charlie Parker. Period. Juilliard, he hated his professors there. It was boring to him. The music they were teaching, he hated it. So he made it through, but it was just so his dad would send him money. So yeah, it started with Charlie Parker, as Mazzy showed, and so I've got a few records here with Miles. This Charlie Parker Memorial on Savoy, Duke Jordan on piano, Max Roach on drums, Tommy Potter on the bass on a lot of this. Dizzy Gillespie's also here with Miles and him on tracks together. Insane. So this is a cool one I found at a convention. And then this one I got locally, also on Savoy, the Charlie Parker Story, and another fantastic lineup with this. This is Miles Davis, Bud Powell on piano, Curly Russell on bass, Max Roach on drums. One of the greatest lineups of all time, if not of all time. I think on the back it says greatest recording session in modern jazz history. I'm not going to argue. There's a lot of different takes here. So that's really cheap. You can find that anywhere. So we get into the Miles records here. I got a few for sure. Of course, Volume 1 on Blue Note, just a stereo pressing here, later press. This is stuff from the early 50s, 52, 53, and 54. Some different lineups here. Art Blakey on drums on some of the tracks, and Kenny Clark. Love Kenny Clark. He's on here too, on some of this. Recorded by Rudy Van Gelder. And I need Volume 2. I just never, ever see it anywhere. I don't know why. Next is one I found in Winston-Salem at a place that was going out of business. It was back when I just started in jazz. And of course I was grabbing all the Miles I could, and that was, 3-4 years ago. And now, they don't stick around, they're gone. So you have, it was a lot easier to get Miles records just that many years ago when the boom was just getting going. So we got an original of Blue Haze on Prestige. This is a great album. Mingus is on piano, on Smooch, yeah. Mingus on piano. I was like, wait a minute, yeah. Percy Heath on bass, Max Roach on drums, John Lewis also on piano. Great one there. And then this is a reissue of Musings of Miles. I really dig the cover on this. Found this at Grave Face in Savannah, the beginning. on Prestige. Different lineup here. You got Red Garland on piano, Oscar Pettiford on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on the drums. And you move to collector's items. Another different lineup. You've got Sonny Rollins and Charlie Parker on the tenor here. Philly Joe Jones on drums, Walter Bishop on piano, and Percy Heath on bass. I have this on CD too. This is a cool record. And then nothing cooler than Birth of the Cool. It's an early Capitol pressing. This was released in '57, I believe. They recorded though in 49 and 50. These sessions. I could be wrong. And I'm not going to remember everything about all these records. His catalog's so insane. And then round about midnight, John Coltrane is in the mix now with Paul Chambers on bass, Red Garland, Philly Joe Jones on another iconic lineup, and this is way up there in his catalog for me. And then one here, this is an original I got from Dylan when he was still doing pop-ups before Noble Records was a full-blown store. Bags Groove with Thelonious Monk here, Sonny Rollins, Milt Jackson, Horace Silver. This is Kenny Clark, love Kenny. This is a big one that I was able to get for the collection thanks to Dylan. Then you have the movie soundtrack, which is some of the most beautiful music ever made in history, as far as I'm concerned. Lift to the Scaffold. It's a Criterion Collection movie. Recommend renting it, or however you can. Well, we can still rent movies here. We have an actual movie store still. A censure pour, I'm not sure how to say that, it's in French, but Lift to the Scaffold in English. I have this on CD as well. This is fucking absolutely stunningly gorgeous. Highly recommend that. And there was Milestones, his later stereo copy on Columbia. Cannonball Adderley's here with John Coltrane, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe Jones. Of course, you have the something here that Mazzy featured, Legrand Jazz. This is a Michel Legrand record, but it does feature Miles Davis among just everybody in the scene at the time. Actually, is here. Bill Evans is on here. Paul Chambers, John Coltrane. This is a good one. This is actually a 6i pressing, very cheap. And then kind of a repackaging of some of the tracks from that movie, Jazz Track. So you got part of this has the Miles Davis Sextet playing Green Dolphin Street, which is one amazing jazz staple. So that's a good one. That's reissue. And you have some of the albums here that you did with Gil Evans begin. Porgy and Bess. This is a early Columbia pressing. I think this pressing I have is from '63. This is my favorite of what he did with Gil. This is absolutely gorgeous. This one put on late night, just let it roll. And then I've got a reissue of Something Else. This is a Cannonball Adderley record, but it's everybody knows it's a Miles record. So that was the later Blue Note reissue with a terrible cover. And then you have the records he went back and did on Prestige, I think due to contractual agreements. And so you ended up with Cookin', and this is going to be all with Coltrane, Chambers, Jones, and Garland. So this is an OJC copy of that. And then you have Relaxin' with the Miles Davis Quintet. This is an OG. I got this from Record Archive in Rochester, New York. This is a fantastic copy. The OJCs are good, but there is a huge difference in the sound with these OGs compared to those. Let's see if this is working. I think this is a very early pressing of that. They might be an OG too, and then I know this is an OG of Steeman. I think this also came from Record Archive, if I recall. And then the most iconic Miles record, of course, Kind of Blue. I think I got this probably from Carolina Soul. Fairly early press. Sounds fantastic. I think it's a stereo copy. And then some more here with Gil Evans, Sketches of Spain, one of the first Miles records I found at a pop-up from the guys that ended up starting Tip Top Daily Market. This one's this earlier reissue stereo copy. And then this one is a thing of beauty. This is an OG of Someday My Prince Will Come, Miles Davis Sextet. That was his wife at the time on the cover. That's a fantastic one. And one that's not very hard to find, actually. Actually, most of these are pretty, I mean, they press tons of these. You have the few here that I found at the first record convention I ever went to. These were probably like $5. Copies are not in the best of shape, but Miles Davis in person at the Black Hawk, Volume 1. In the back, just a lot of words. And then, of course, Volume 2 is in much better condition. Great performance. And then this one is one you don't see every day. This is on Riverside, the compositions of Miles Davis, as interpreted by other musicians. So you have Wes Montgomery, Bill Evans, Cannonball Adderley, Herbie Mann, Mark Murphy. This is Don Rendell, Sam Jones. Very cool record. Really, really good, actually. Found this in that place going out of business in Winston. And this I got really cheap because the cover is torn, but Miles and Monk at Newport. Great face on that. Great stuff there. And then you have Seven Steps to Heaven. This is still in the shrink. This is an original, still with a $2.30 price tag on the back. That's a great one. I love that record. And then another with Gil Evans, Quiet Nights. It's an original stereo copy, I believe. That one that's an alright record, not my favorite. And another one I found from Dylan at Noble Records, one of his pop-ups, Miles Davis in Europe. This was, where was this? Live at the Antivius International Jazz Festival, Juan Lepin. Very cool record there. And then my all-time favorite Miles record, ESP, my favorite Miles cover, my favorite music from Miles. This is a perfect record, perfect. And this is where you have the lineup of Wayne Shorter, Tony Williams on the drums, Ronald Carter on the bass, Herbie Hancock on piano. This is the one to get right here. One thing I am a little disappointed is this is one I got on Discogs, and It's listed as an OG. It is not an OG. It's an early press, but it's not an OG. So, lesson on Discogs is, if you're getting something that's an early press and there's a lot of pressings, email the seller, ask for photos. Doesn't hurt. They can only say no, and then you can move on. I was early on when I was collecting, and I don't make that mistake anymore. The next is one, found a repo, Miles Davis, 4 and More, recorded live in concert. George Coleman's on tenor here, with the same lineup otherwise as ESP. Not sure, maybe Wayne was sick that day. And you've got Sorcerer, and that was Miles' squeeze at the time there. Trying to remember her name from the book, but I cannot. Another one, freaking killer. What a lineup. This is the one that's got the vocal by Bob Dorough, which is weird. Yeah, vocals on a Miles record at this time. Then you got Miles Smiles. I think this is a OG. It's a great record. Nefertiti, which I really love. This is an early press, not an OG, but fantastic. Just all these with this lineup with Wayne and Herbie and Tony are taking the music just to new levels. Very important records in jazz. It just, you wouldn't probably have Modal without it. And then from there, out comes Miles in the Sky. And it's an original I got from Dylan. I had to pop up because you add, like Mazzy said, you start adding the electric instruments, electric piano, and George Benson's on guitar here, and that's when everything changes. Just those two instruments, the whole jazz world turned over, and then you end up with In a Silent Way, fucking masterpiece. Of course, you've add in Chick Corea, Joseph Sawinul, John McLaughlin. I'd love to find a copy that don't have crazy ring wear. And this one I just got from the Polish Mafia, Philly de Kilimanjaro. This is a cool record. Starting to get out there. And this is kind of a random one. This is Jazz at the Plaza. This is the sextet. So with Coltrane and Cannonball going back, where you got like songs like Olio on here, which is a great one. And then in my top 2 or 3 Miles records, Bitches Brew. This is an OG copy. I got it Lunchbox, in fantastic shape. Love John McLaughlin on that. And then last but not least is this twofer. And this actually has, this is volume 1 and 2, Blue Note, all in one. So I do have volume 2, it's here, but I still want the Blue Note copy. So that's all the Miles. Hope you enjoyed that, and check out Mazzy's video. There's a lot of records he showed that I did not, and hope everybody's well. Peace.